Welcome in, Hawks fans. Your boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for another Believe in Hawks episode. Hawks comeback attempt comes up short tonight against the Houston Rockets. They lose 121-114. A furious fourth quarter rally to cut the game to 4, but Houston was able to get some big shots down the stretch, especially by Jalen Green, who had a big game tonight against the Hawks. But Hawks fought. And honestly, coming out of this game, I feel like there's a lot to unpack. So we're going to talk about it here on Believe in Hawks. I appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode. If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. Appreciate all the love, everything on the sun. Follow me on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Bricey_2K, BRICEY_2K. Also, new article out on my website, Brice2Ksports.com on Onyeka Okongwu. I will have that pinned down in the comments section, which I will also talk about Onyeka Okongwu tonight because I've seen a lot of Onyeka Okongwu conversation, and I've talked about it, but like this game will feed into why I'm talking about it. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So yeah, tonight's game was tough. It was tough. This game was ugly for the Hawks for 3 quarters. I mean, really outside of one run in the first quarter, it was ugly. Hawks just could not hit threes. And Houston pretty much just did the same game plan they did to him the first game. We're gonna go zone. We're not going to allow you to they went to the zone, which you can cut and drive in the paint too, but they basically were like, we're going to force Atlanta to make threes. If Atlanta wants to beat us, they got to make 3-pointers. And the Hawks can do that for the first 3 quarters. And then when the Houston Rockets went to zone, you could tell when the Hawks were playing, you could tell the process change. When you start to learn something new and you are put into a situation where you have to now exhibit those things that you learned, sometimes you have to go through the process of just processing. You hear it all the time with NFL analogies with quarterbacks. Like, you could tell he's processing slowly, but when he's able to process quicker, you see it's a more smoother transaction. Here, you could see when the Houston went to the zone, Atlanta, you could tell. I said they looked out of sync. Like, they looked like, oh, wait, what do we want to do? Like, you could tell through the passes and everything, there wasn't a comfortability with it. And the thing about it in NBA is a lot of teams don't use zone a ton. Like, the zone happens. Houston does it. Miami does it. It's 2 teams. But a lot of teams pretty much just do a lot of switching. And so even though there is a formula to attack the zone that is universal at all levels of basketball, when you don't face it all the time and you are coming into the game thinking we're going to face this type of defense and we're going to do this against that defense, and then it's not that defense, there is a bit of a process change that you have to make. And I feel like the Hawks struggled to adjust. Usually the zone, you have to attack it 2 ways. Either you are cutting, you have cutters, you're cutting constantly, you're back cutting. What you're trying to do is collapse the defense, collapse the zone, and then make them start having to run. Scramble drill, basically. If anybody who play basketball, scramble drill. You know, and basically you're just trying to get them moving so that it gets them out of the zone. Because when the zone is set, that's when it's most difficult to beat. You want to try to make sure they can't set the zone. Or the other solution is you hit threes. If you're hitting threes, because the zone, what it does is it allows you to have space from 3. So if you're able to hit them, then, you know, that's going to force the team to come out of the zone. And the Hawks, tonight, since they couldn't hit threes, that played right in the Houston Saints. LeVert couldn't hit threes. Zach couldn't hit threes. Niang in the first 3 quarters couldn't hit threes. They tried Garrison Matthews. He couldn't hit 3. Like the Hawks, from the guys they need to get threes from, were not able to hit threes tonight. And that was really, really tough because now it's like, okay, we can't hit threes, so we can't break the zone that way. And I felt like the Hawks were uncomfortable trying to break it down, which is why Houston was able to take advantage and also create turnovers. That was also another issue. The Hawks were turning the ball over multiple times against them, and that really hurt them. Overall, the Hawks had like 7, 8 turnovers in the first 14 minutes of the game. They only finished with 14 up, but the process wasn't smooth. And so that to me was kind of the tough part of this entire situation. So what you saw tonight was just Houston having a game plan and the Hawks not able to figure it out to the fourth quarter, where then they made a furious comeback. And they made the comeback with Terrence Mann, Dyson Daniels, Vic Krejci, Zachary Richer, Onyeka Okongwu. That is probably one of the best lineups you can have in terms of balanced offense and defense in terms of cutters. They had cutters on the floor. Man, really good cutter. Zach, really good cutter. Dyson, really good cutter. Krejci can cut. Even though he's not looking for a shot, he's really good at finding the guy. He can push it to a guy. And then a Okongwu. And you saw that was the lineup that caused Houston issues and allowed the Hawks to get back into the game. Because they were able to just cut, break down the zone. Then they were able to start finding some guys around the perimeter. Some guys started making some threes, and then you were able to see the lead get cut down to 4 points. And so, you know, it's one of those games where it was pretty simple why they lost tonight. But at the same time, they figured it out. It just was too late. Right? And so, and also, the second issue was and this is going to get me into my Onyeka point. So the Houston Rockets have Sengun, Steven Adams, two big bigs, right? And they were able to use that. And they're naturally a big team because Jabari Smith's also pretty big. Pause. And so really, that gave Atlanta a lot of issues tonight. The Hawks, even with the size issues, they won the offensive rebound battle tonight, 18-14. It was the rebounding battle that they lost overall, 51-42. And Houston, every time they got rebounds, especially in that first half when they got the lead to balloon, they just pushed it. Every time the Hawks missed, push, and they were able to take advantage. Because the Hawks, because here's the thing, the defensive rebounding disparity tonight was 24-37. So, you know, they were able to hold. It's weird because basically when you see that stat, it would mean they held the Hawks to one possession, but the Hawks won the offensive rebound battle, so that they didn't. But you could tell size was an issue tonight, right? And the big issue wasn't Okongwu. Okongwu had 14-15. He was the only guy they could legitimately trust as a big against those bigs. He competed against Sengun in them. I think Sengun had 18. But Jordy, I mean, literally that first half especially, a lot of that came against Gay and Barlow. But Okongwu played the most minutes tonight that he's ever played that wasn't an overtime game. That's the type of game it was for the Hawks tonight because there was no other big they could legitimately trust in this game to play against Houston's size. Right? And so that in and of itself was a big issue. And my Onyeka point I want to make right now is, you know, I posted my article today about Onyeka Okongwu. I said center of the future, right? Which obviously, now that I've, you know, I'm in the fan base. What do you mean in the fan base? I've seen what the fan base thinks. A lot of people are split on Onyeka, like because of the size. That is firmly the main thing that I see is the size that makes people unsure about Onyeka, right? And someone mentioned to me tonight, you know, Houston's dominating us because of their size. And I think the thing is people, because Onyeka is a smaller player, they will group him in with that. They will group him in with that specifically. And so my point is, Onyeka has played really well the last 2 months. And we've gone against some 7-footers and some big teams, and he's had strong games against them. He has clearly shown that he can play against bigger teams and be effective against bigger teams. He has shown it. You can't say he hasn't. He has. 14 to 15. I mean, I'm not coming out of a game tonight and saying, man, Yucca couldn't play with those guys. Yucca showed me he could play with those guys. He was the only one who could battle against those guys. Quinn knew that was the only person that he could battle against. This was a game you needed Clint Capella. This was a game you needed Clint Capella. Just to give you an extra big body who can play against those guys. But you didn't have that. Barlow and Gay got overwhelmed. And I said this to someone. I said the issue with tonight's game is Capella's out and you can't play Gay for long stretches. So then you go to Barlow, he's getting cooked. Who do you have? You have nobody else on the bigs. The Hawks size issue, first, Jalen would help because Jalen plays bigger than his size. Jalen's like 6'9". He plays bigger than his size. He can compete against bigs, right? He would help. I said Clint would help. But when we're thinking about what the Hawks need in the future for this roster, it's not getting rid of Okongwu to acquire size. That's not the solution. That, especially Miles Turner. Listen, when people tell me that Miles Turner is the solution to our problems, I just cannot believe it. Because we have literally seen this man, Onyeka Okongwu, outplay him multiple times this season. Multiple times. And plus, Miles Turner's almost 30. Onyeka's still in his mid-20s. Why are we giving up him for an older player? I can at least say Onyeka Okongwu can get better. I know Onyeka Okongwu can be better. Miles is pretty much who he is at this point. He ain't getting no better. Some of y'all just see 7 feet and think that solves every problem. But the thing is, if you see how the Hawks play, they need a particular type of 7-footer. You can't just bring in a 7-footer with brick feet and tell me that's going to work. That's not what Quinn wants to do. You need to say the 7-footer we want is a guy who can move, who can defend the rim, who can shoot, maybe and pass a little bit. If you can get a center like that, that probably means he's a pretty quality center. Pretty good center probably, right? So that's not an easy player to acquire. That's why a lot of people looking at that Kings pick, like that would be the pick that if we could, that would be where we get it. Or we got the Lakers pick in the 20s that we can get and try to get a center then. Or do you go the vet route? That's the decision they got to make. But that to me is my issue when people talk about the Hawks' size. If you look at this game tonight, Okongwu was not the issue. Like if Okongwu was getting dominated in this game, then you could say he's too small. He's not. I just don't think he has enough to compete against the bigs of Houston or against big teams. But if he's giving you a double-double, 14, 15, 16, 18, and 13, I can't say he is an issue in those situations. Because people were like, somebody said to me, like, it's different when you're like, inflating your numbers against Charlotte. And I'm like, Charlotte? The boy just cooked the Warriors and also had a strong game against the Sixers. And also then had a strong game against the Pacers twice, back to back. We've played some big teams, and Okongwu's played very well against them. So, like, that needs to go out the window. Listen, because my thing is that we just need to get bigger around Okongwu. That's the thing. Jalen comes back, you add a 7-footer, you got to decide, is Mo Gay your backup for next year? He's 6'10", 6'11", right? So, if you do that, I mean, you're a bigger team around him. Because like I said, you can't play Gay for long stretches of time, like tonight. And Barlow, think about the Brooklyn Nets game is a great example. Claxton, right? Brooklyn had a strong game that game on the boards. But they were strong in the minutes that Okongwu was off the floor. I think Barlow had double-digit negative that game in terms of him playing. He had another double-digit negative this game. Tonight, Dominique Barlow, let me find this for y'all. Dominique Barlow had minus 11 tonight in 10 minutes. Gay, minus 4 in 9 minutes. Okongwu, plus 4 in 38. we're talking about size like it's Okongwu's fault, and it's just we don't have bodies right now who can also battle with him. So that's why, like, this impression that he, like, and the thing is, people were like, "Oh, Okongwu's definitely not the center of the future," or whatever. I'm like, brother, Onyeka Okongwu will be starting here for at least another 2-3 years. Like this, y'all. I'm seeing people say trade him this season. I'm like, why? Like, because here's the thing: there's a reason why Okongwu has a lot of value to a lot of teams in the league. They know how good he can be. He plays bigger than his size. You trade Okongwu, you better be getting me a legitimate 7-footer who can give me 18 and 10 a game. If you ain't, we're getting worse. You can't just, because if it's really just about being a 7-footer, we could just go get Alex Len, right? We could have just signed him. We could have got Bobo. If it's really about that. But y'all don't want them, right? Why? Okay. And don't tell me Miles Turner. No. No. If Miles Turner dominated Okongwu, then you have a point. He hasn't. So, like, big issue, get healthy, get Jalen back, get a 7-foot big to go with them, figure out the 4. Because, like I said, if you don't think Gay is the 4 next year, that is another spot you could also get some size at if you're the Hawks. And now you got more size around him. And if Onyeka is struggling and he's the small one against bigger teams in those situations, then you'll have a point. Like, I'm just being brutally honest with you guys. People want to look at him and say he's the reason why the Hawks struggle against big teams. And I'm like, brother, if Onyeka's getting me 15 to 15, I can't say he's the problem to get that game. The issue is he ain't got no other bigs. Like the small ball lineup, we ran a small ball lineup tonight. Richeche was the 4. Or even, Terrence Mann was guarding Steven Adams in the game. So, he was kind of the 4. Terrence Mann and the Hawks tonight were just out-efforting the Houston Rockets in the fourth quarter to be able to give themselves a chance, create turnovers, and try to end possessions. Because Krejci's 6 what? He's like 6 what? Isn't Krejci like 6'7"? Dyson 6'7"? Terrence Mann's the shortest man on the floor. There's someone else I'm missing. Is Krejci, Dyson, Mann, Richeche, and Okongwu. And, they basically just went into a group rebounding mode, and that was able to help them because obviously that's what smaller teams do against bigger teams. You go into group rebounding, gang rebounding to try to help on the boards. But overall tonight, I want to touch on that. But at the same time, the zone, the Hawks can make shots tonight. That's as simple as I can put it to you. Hawks can make shots tonight, and that is what really hurt them. And listen, this is why, the Hawks usually struggle against some of the best teams in the Western Conference. It's funny, Eastern Conference teams, the thing about the conferences is they both kind of operate differently. Like Western Conference teams play more through their bigs. Like Oklahoma City's probably the only team that really doesn't. They play through Shea, and then they have quality bigs in Chet and Hartenstein. Houston will play through Sengun at times, even with Jalen Green. Denver plays through Joker. When the Lakers had AD, they would try to play through AD. Clippers can now play through Zubac. Even though they have good guard and wing play, they play through those guys, and then that's what gives the Hawks trouble. In the Eastern Conference, Boston really doesn't play through Porzingis. They play through their wings. Cleveland has bigs. If they play through a big, it's Mobley. Allen's just a really solid defender and rebounder who can score a little bit. They're probably them and probably Philadelphia when Embiid's healthy are really the two teams that play through bigs. Because if you look at Indiana, they don't play through their big. They don't play through Miles Turner. Detroit doesn't. Derwin's a good center, but they don't play through Duren. The Bucks, Brook Lopez and them are good, but it's Giannis. It's Giannis. Shout out to Damian Lillard out. He's gonna be out for a while. Blood clot. Sucks to hear that. Wish him back soon. Speedy recovery for Dame. Hawks play them in a couple of games, so assuming that Dame will not be available in that game. But maybe they play through Giannis. And the funniest thing about the Bucks is the Hawks always played them tough. And they're like known for their size. But they don't really play through their bigs. They play through Giannis. Who else is above us? I think I just named all the teams above us. Oh, the Knicks. The Knicks are also the other team because they have Cat. But Cat likes to shoot threes, which was why some people get frustrated with Cat because he likes to shoot threes. So, like the Eastern Conference, when the Hawks are much better equipped to deal with Eastern Conference teams than they are Western Conference teams. That has been put very much on display this year because the Boston's not going to play through Porzingis in those games. You know, realistically, outside of Mobley, Cleveland's not going to say, hey, Jared Allen, just go to work. You know, like Pacers aren't saying, Miles Turner, go to work. The only team that really does that and has actually taken advantage of their size has been the Knicks because Cat has had big games against the Hawks each time this year. But he's also like, well, the way they're constructed, it's kind of him and Jalen Brunson. So I think, you know, I believe the Hawks, in terms of Western Conference teams, let me see something here. How many do we have left the rest of the year as we approach the end? We play 3 more Western Conference teams. Portland, Mavericks, and Jazz. Mavericks and Jazz are the ones with bigs that you actually are worried about, even though I know the guy's name for Portland who's playing really well. His last name starts with a D. This is not coming to me right now. But, like, my point is like, you know, Hawks know what they need to do. But moving Onyeka Okongwu isn't the solution. And like I said, Onyeka's going to be the starter for the near future. Because he hasn't – because the thing about it is that Onyeka hasn't done anything to not be trusted. Like, if you really think about it, he hasn't done anything to make you be like, I can't trust it. You're just grouping him in with the size issues because he's smaller and saying, I can't trust him. Even though he's the one who's coming out of it with like a 16-16 game. So, that's just me. But, yeah, overall tonight, I mean, if you look at the numbers, Hawks shot 41% from the field, 30% from 3. They had 32 assists tonight. Obviously, zone, they kind of had to. I told y'all about the rebounding. Hawks won fast break 13-11. And they actually won the points off turnovers 22-15. So they won a couple of departments that they want to try to win. When you play a team like Houston, who's really good in the half court, one of the best half court teams in the league, especially a team that wants to play zone, you really also have to push the pace so they can't get set. And so the Hawks really, and the thing is, it's funny. People say Houston plays a very ugly brand of basketball. Like, it's not pretty. Like watching the game tonight, it was like, this is kind of ugly. Like, it's like it works for them. That's why they're the second best team in the Western Conference right now, record-wise. But, like, it's kind of ugly. Like, they play an ugly style of basketball. They're just lucky Jalen Green had it going tonight and was cooking. Because and they got big shots down the stretch from Jabari Smith tonight. He was big in that fourth quarter to help them stave off the Hawks. So, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you lose this game. You've won a couple of games in a row if you're the Hawks. You lose this game. You just got to bounce back from it. You play Miami next. That's huge because Miami is a team that you are fighting in the play-in with. They've obviously fell off because of the big losing streak, but they've won 2 in a row now. They beat Golden State tonight. So that's going to be a tough game. You know, obviously you're in Miami, so you really need that game. And because Orlando also won tonight, they closed the gap. I think they're within a half game now of the 7th spot. And the Chicago Bulls are playing really good basketball right now, so they're moving up. You really need to try to get that Heat game. And then you got the Bucks, like I said, with no Damian Lillard, makes that game more winnable for you. If you're the Hawks, you need that game as well. So, you know, you're entering this very crucial part of the end of the year. Hawks have about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games left on the year. If they want a winning season, I believe they have to go 7-3 down the stretch to have a winning season. Yeah, they have to go 7-3, I think, to firmly get a winning season. They also are in a position right now where they're fighting off teams trying to get to that 7th spot, and pretty much right now they gotta step up to the occasion, and like learn from this game. But it's also probably a good thing that they went against Houston before going against Miami, because you know what Miami's going to try to do to them. And now they kind of played against a very tough physical team. You figure some things out. Maybe you can learn from this. And when Thursday comes around, you get ready for the Heat and you try to win that game before Sunday against the Bucks comes up. So overall tonight, I think the Hawks, they did some good things. They're continuing to improve. You just didn't get shots go down early in the game, and that really hurts you down the stretch of the game. Until the fourth quarter, when you made the comeback, you finally got the right rotation on the floor. I said you had to ride that rotation as long as you could. And I also want to make mention, I said this too, what really helped that lineup is Krejci. And I've said this, underrated value of Krejci is he's a good passer. He helped also play make the zone with Dyson. It wasn't just a one-man show, hey, figure it out. It was, hey, two guys can figure it out. Dyson can cut, Zach can cut, Man can cut, and do things. Like I said, Man didn't play well in the first half. He was not good in the first half at all. He came back in that fourth quarter and really hooped, competed. I know Man's been very a controversial topic of Hawks fans, of wondering if he shouldn't be on the team next year because he's had some struggles that have looked really bad. But also, don't forget, there's some times where it looks really good. And so, and Glenn, my guy, was talking about how that could also be a construction thing, just the way the team is right now. Jalen comes back next year and some things change. That may work better for Man. So we'll have to see. But that's kind of pretty much how the game went tonight. And like I said, they just got bounced back from it. So we'll see what they do, man. But I think that's about it for me, man. If y'all enjoyed this episode, definitely subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment down below about anything you want to talk about. Like I said, my article will be linked in the comment section down below. Then also, for audio listeners, rating and review if you enjoyed the episode, for sure. 5 stars. Appreciate you. And then also follow me on X at Bricey_2K, BRICEY_2K. So Hawks lose tonight. Got to bounce back against Miami. We're entering that home stretch of the season before play-in action happens for the Atlanta Hawks. Let's see what they can do. It's your boy, Rex Lewis. We'll see you next time.